Alright, so this application today, it's going to be a very basic bare bones app. But what we're going to focus on doing here is creating an app just to show us how we can work with dictionaries, arrays, and also, most importantly, the app delegate. So I want to illustrate the app delegate today here and how it can be a very central and powerful point for passing data between, saving data. I mean, of course, there's other objects we can do for internal storage, whether it be SQLite or internal saving and so on, that we'll see in the future. But for now, this is a very basic bare bones app that allows us to take advantage of the app delegate and to take advantage of arrays and dictionaries, and just illustrate how they work very quickly. Now, one thing to note about the app delegate is that it's a singleton class, meaning that it has one instance, and it's only ever allowed to be instantiated once. So singleton is a design pattern that spans across all computer science. All languages support singletons, so whether it be Java, C, C Sharp, and whatnot. So you can actually set up your object, whatever object you create, to be instantiated once and only once ever. Think of it as like a central database at that point. It's only allowed to be, it's like it's a centralized location where you can pass data, save data, and so on. So this is the app we're going to build today. It's very basic. We have all these labels here. And all we're going to do with these labels is to have them as the word label. These will get retrieved from the app delegate, which will be saved in this case as an array. And then we'll hit begin, and we'll see that we have another page, more information in labels that will come from a dictionary that is saved in the app delegate. So we hit home, go back. Right? Very basic, very simple app to work on. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new project. And we're going to say iOS single view application. And I'm going to call this dictionary array app delegate, because that's what it's going to cover, what it's going to entail. And we'll give it a home. And so what we'll do first is we're going to add a new view controller class, because we're going to have two pages here. So we'll go through that process. We'll say new file, and we'll say iOS Cocoa Touch class. It's a subclass of UI view controller. I'm just going to call this page 2 view controller. Hit next, give it a home. All right. And so now we'll start into our main storyboard. Let me put the word loading on the launch screen. So look for a label, put that in there, and the word loading, just in case our app hangs or anything. And then we'll go on to main storyboard, and we'll go ahead and we'll set up our items here. So main storyboard, and we'll drag over a new page, so a new view controller. Just going to hide this because I don't need it. And now we got two pages. So let's start with labels. Just going to drag over a label there. And just center it. I'm not going to put anything on it. Make it bigger. And then just copy it and paste it 4 more times. All right. And I think it'll be easier just to select all of it, copy this, paste it here. Remember, in case you're new to the Mac, Command C, copy, Command X, cut, Command V, paste, just like in the Windows world, but they use Control. Now, need a button. And I'll put the button down here. And this will say begin. And I'll just copy and paste that button. But this second button will say home. Alright, so let's cast this page, second page, to that page to view controller. So highlight in the yellow circle, go to the identity inspector, change UI view controller to page to view controller. So now that's casted. And connect the begin button to the new page. So click on begin, hold down the control key on the keyboard, click and drag, and choose present modally. Alright, most of our page navigation is in play. We just need to get the home button working, but for that we have to add a special method to viewController.Swift, which we will do in a bit. At this point our storyboard visually is done. So now it's up to us to write the code to support this screen. So I'm going to start in viewController.Swift and add that support method that we need, the unwinding of the segue. So let's open this up here. I'm going to say IB action func unwind to home view controller sender UI storyboard segue. Okay, keep it empty. It's good enough. Remember, UI storyboard segue is the important thing. Now, before we continue on with the home page or the viewController.Swift class, we're going to start off in App Delegate. So we're going to go to appdelegate.swift, and I'll just talk briefly about appdelegate.swift and what it's all about. So we have viewController.Swift, and we need a view controller for every screen that we are working with. And there are methods inside viewController that support the life cycle of the screen that's on display on your phone. Now, we have this App Delegate file. It plays a similar role, but for the entire app. So it plays a role for the entire app lifecycle. So we have these methods, did finish launching with options. We have these other ones like will resign active, did enter background, will enter foreground. They all have detailed explanations about what they do. So I'm not going to spend any time with them. The first method that I talked about, did finish launching with options, is the most important method and most commonly used method out of all of it. It's kind of like, I don't want to say a constructor, but essentially it's like the constructor for the app because it auto-executes code upon launching the app. Now this executes once and only once during the app lifecycle, so while it's running. And then you have to actually kill the app and then launch it again in order to get this thing to run again. So that's the purpose of it. It runs at launch time, perfect for opening a connection to a database, maybe downloading some data, maybe getting some data set up on your screens, maybe in internal classes, and so on. So perfect for setting up your app. That's its whole purpose. But we're going to use it to actually hard code some information. We're going to have some internal variables or class variables for this app delegate, which I'm going to define just here below window. So we'll have a variable called title. So we'll say var title is of type string. Make it empty. We'll have var options of type, now this can be an array of strings. Make it an empty array. Var scores of type, it'll be a dictionary. So I'll specify the key and the value pair. So the key will be string, the value be string. And we'll set it to be an empty dictionary. Okay, so now we have our three variables that we're going to set up in the app delegate that will make it accessible to the entire app so anybody can use it. So now let's actually set these values and did finish launching. We could have hard coded them up there, but just to illustrate that they can be set here and to illustrate how they're set up. So first we'll say title is equal to, well, we'll give it the title of the app, so dictionary array app delegate example. Of course, this should be all in quotes. So Xcode's going a little batty there. So that's the title. Now let's set up our options array. So we're going to say options equals, open up a set of square brackets to define our array. So we'll say the first option is play game, comma, settings, comma, about app, comma, online play. Alright, so that'll be my array of options. Now for the dictionary, we're going to define it a little bit different. And of course, there's multiple ways to define an array and define a dictionary. But for those of you that are Objective-C developers, you know that this is way easier than what we're accustomed to in Objective-C. There's a lot of legwork involved in creating arrays for Objective-C. In fact, square brackets don't even come close. So let's define a dictionary. So we're going to say scores. Give it a key. So this first key is going to be score with a capital S. Remember, this is all case sensitive, so be very careful. We just hard code the score to be score is 3,421. Then we'll say scores of, we'll say level. So we'll hard code the level to be level 34. Then we'll say scores of high for high score will be high score of 987,332. Then we'll say scores of time will be equal to, we'll say time left is 43. Right, so we're just going to hard code this data here just so that we can get it to display on the screen. Now the next step is to take this information and pull it out inside viewcontroller.swift. So we're done with appdelegate.swift. We just added a few variables. We've initialized the data in the variables using did finish launching. Now we're going to move over to viewcontroller.swift, so the home page, and get this to display this data. So first, let's define our outlets for that page. There are 5 labels, so we're going to define an outlet for each of them. So we'll say IB outlet, var LB title, extends UI label, with exclamation mark. Then we'll say IB outlet, var LB op1 will be also UI label, B outlet, var, then LB op2 be a UI label, and then IB outlet, var LB op3, and of course op4. Now, what I want to do is I want to populate all the information here inside all of the labels and execute them at viewDidLoad so they execute right away. So just for readability's sake, and so I'm not moving stuff around, I'm just going to move this method further down and make some space here. Reduce the space there. Okay, so now, first step is all of my data is inside App Delegate. And I can't instantiate App Delegate, so like I was saying earlier, you can't. It's instantiated once and only once, but instead, you can request access to App Delegate. And you do that by saying let main delegate equal UI application dot shared dot delegate as App Delegate. Now, I'm going to use the term main delegate over and over. There's no hard and fast rule. I'm used to using main delegate, and it's just convenient. It gives some standardization to my app delegate usage. So calling it main delegate. Now, I'm just going to populate my labels. So I'll say lb title.text is equal to main delegate.title. Just use it as a regular object. That's all. So now the array options. So we'll say lb op1.text equals main delegate. Now I'm going to retrieve from an array, so main delegate.options of 0. Just like a regular array in any other language. lb op2.text main delegate.options of 1. Be op3.text main delegate.options of 2. Finally, lb op4.text equals main delegate.options of 3. Okay. Let's kill off that extra space. Just clean it up. Okay. So now we have enough to see the first page at least. So what we want to do now is we want to connect up all our outlets and give it a run. So I'm going to switch over to main.storyboard and click on my yellow circle for page 1. Go to my connections inspector, and I see all my LB variables. So op1, op2, op3, op4, and title. And we've already connected up begin, but the home button, we have to connect it to our unwind segue. So since we're here, click on home, and you're going to control, so click on control and drag it to the exit icon. Oops, didn't make it far enough. Let's try again. Control, click, drag to exit, let go, and say unwind to home view controller. Now let's give it a run on an iPhone 8. Alright, so now we have all of our information. So dictionary, array, app delegate, example, play game, settings, about app, online play. It's all there. Now let's hit begin. And you see the generic labels. Just like we have the generic labels behind, labels over here. Now our next step is to get that label to display. Okay, so now that we have our first page done, let's get our second page done. So, page 2 view controller. So now what we're going to do is we're going to define our outlets for those labels. So I'm going to say IB outlet, var lb title will be a UI label. Second will be called lb score. lb time, a UI label. lb level. Finally, high score, UI label. Alright, so now we have all of our variables, all of our outlets. Now, what we want to do is want to request access to our app delegate again. So I'm going to go back to view to load, request access to the app delegate. So let's say let main delegate equal UI application dot shared dot delegate as app delegate. And we did the title in the last screen, so we'll just get that out of the way. So lb title dot text equals main delegate dot title. Right, so nothing new there. The next few lines, we're going to be retrieving data from a dictionary though. And it's very similar to retrieving data from an array. In the array, we had numbered indices, so 0, 1, 2, 3. But here, we have key value pairs. So all I have to do is just swap out numbers for keys. So we'll start off with lb score dot text equals main delegate dot scores, that was the name of the dictionary, of score, so that's our first key. Remember, case sensitivity, and make sure that that key is exactly the same. And apologies, it actually scores with an S. Much better. Alright, lb time dot text equals main delegate dot scores of time lb level dot text equals main delegate dot scores of level lb high score dot text equals main delegate dot scores of high. And that's it for coding. So now we've actually gotten all of our dictionary data into our separate labels, and we've got our outlets up here. So now what we need to do is connect everything up and then give it a run. So move over to main storyboard. We have our second page to support now. So I'm going to click on the yellow circle. Connections inspector is still open, and just connect everything up. So the order doesn't matter for our exercise. Just start throwing stuff. Make sure you're not putting the same label twice. And that's it. Give it a run. Alright, so we've got our home page, which we saw already, all of our data there. Hit begin, and we're going to have our title again here, and all of the data from our dictionary that we hard-coded earlier on in the app delegate. We just hit home, and everything's back together. So a very basic app from our course perspective here, but the idea is that we had a quick example on how dictionaries work, how arrays work. And most importantly, the main thing I wanted to illustrate here was the App Delegate. And remember, the App Delegate is a Singleton class. It's only accessed it's only instantiated once and only once. It can be accessed from anywhere and any object, and that way it allows you to centrally store all your information and data in one class if you wanted to. And instead of using, say, SQLite or user prefs or whatnot, you can use that instead. All right, so that's it for this exercise. Enjoy, and don't forget to like, comment, and share.